Welcome to the podcast. I'm Anita Joyce. Kelly and I are here, and this is Decorating Tips and Tricks. Today is episode 277, Brown Furniture, Bummed or Blessed? The show notes for today's episode can be found at Decorating Tips and Tricks /277. I love this topic.
I so love this topic. Before we start today, we do want to say that we are very sad that Yvonne is no longer able to join us on the podcast, but we are here and Nita, Jean, and I are ready to rock this thing. And we've got so many new topics coming up, and we're going to be sliding into the holidays and lots of new fun things that we're going to be doing and involving you more in the podcast. Who's got it? Who's got brown furniture?
I think I have a lot.
I didn't know I had a lot. Okay, so let me tell you guys how this happened. Okay, so, Romantic Homes came to my house and they took pictures and I was featured in the magazine. I was so excited and everything. And it's really all so great. And they loved it. And we had a great day and amazing. And then they just featured the house again on their online version and all that. And I only mention all of this because out of that came this request. So it was a request for me to give my thoughts on brown furniture. Mm-hmm. And I was posed several questions about brown furniture, about an upcoming article that they're doing. And as odd as, at first I was like, wow, Romantic Homes wants to know what I think. And then I was like, they want to know what I think about brown furniture. It was so oddly it's so odd how brown furniture seems like it could possibly be a bad thing. It was kind of like them asking.
It doesn't sound like a nice way to describe the furniture.
No, and it was
a little like there's a little negative connotation.
It's like a little
there.
negative, like you have a pretty house and it's beautiful and we liked it enough to come take photos of it, but
we noticed it was a bit on the brown side.
Brown furniture. So it was kind of like being asked to be like, oh, would you like to, give us your opinion about like being fat or something like that?
Oh my gosh.
It was like slightly something weird to it. Like I was like,
Ouch. So they kind of called you fat.
Kind of a little. Like,
I actually have a lot of brown furniture in my house too.
I don't know. At first I was like, that's so exciting. But then I was like, okay, is it bad to have a lot of brown furniture? And this is what's going through my head. Like, is it bad? Do I have a lot of brown furniture? Let me think how much brown furniture I have. And then I started to count up the pieces and I was like, I kind of do have a lot of brown furniture. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I spent last Sunday afternoon thinking all about this brown furniture and these questions. And I was answering them to the best of my ability. And through that process, I realized I feel blessed that I have my brown furniture.
Well, can we start by saying I don't like the term brown furniture. Okay. It feels so politically incorrect.
Yeah.
It just feels like you're just doing this broad brush against any unpainted piece of furniture. But so, I don't really like the term because it sounds a little negative. And I don't think brown, and the other thing is it feels like you're taking all this furniture and putting it in one category. There's a lot of ugly brown furniture and there are a lot of amazingly incredible, beautiful pieces of furniture that are stained. Well, okay, but let me back up a little bit because a few years ago when the chalk paint came out,
yeah,
everyone was into painting the furniture. We all had an ugly piece of furniture somewhere that just needed something. We painted it. Maybe it had great lines, but the stain was a little on the orange side or something. I can't tell you how many pieces of furniture were improved so much with a splash of paint. And I noticed some rooms I've seen online turned out that some people felt like if a little bit of paint is a good thing, then a lot of paint is a good thing.
Is a better thing.
And right. And then the whole room ended up being painted and then it lost its feeling. Then it started feeling like it had been snowed on or something. And so I really feel like you really do want some unpainted, maybe that's the way to phrase
it. Yeah, right.
Some unpainted furniture in every room because it's interesting that it was seen as a negative thing with the brown furniture because I've been seeing lately a backlash online from bloggers with the painted furniture.
Well, this is why I think they're doing this article. And I don't think that it was meant to have
No, I don't
a
think
negative connotation in the way that the questions were phrased, but at all. But I think it was just the way I took it, like,
I think it was the term. It kind of sets your teeth on edge a little, I think.
Well, I just, it made me go, wow, like, really? Oh, is that not good? I don't know. But anyway, the more I thought about it, I bet a ton of you who are listening have brown furniture. I mean, it's almost hard to have furniture and not have some brown furniture.
Well, and let me say, I did paint a lot. When the chalk paint came out, I had some ugly furniture. I painted a lot of my furniture. But what I painted were my things that didn't really look good. And then as I added some nicer pieces to my collection, most of those things I painted, I got rid of because I gave them away or sold them or something. So it's interesting. I was looking around my house recently, noticing I don't really have a lot of that furniture left that I painted. So I feel like I've got a nice mix of both. And really I don't want to skip to that because it's not the end of the episode yet, but I think the
don't
answer
tell us
is
the ending yet.
Oh, well, I'm going to say it anyway. I think the answer is you want a little bit of both.
Last word, Nita Jean. Yes. Okay. That's it. You do want a little bit of both. But let's talk about, why is brown furniture important and why is it key to having some nice pieces of brown or stained or dark furniture, however you want to call it. And sometimes maybe people would refer to it as antique furniture, but there's certainly antique painted furniture too. But
there's new that's stained too.
Yeah. But I'm saying that, you're trying to give it a new term. There's nothing seems to 100% fit.
I know.
So what I'm thinking is that, if it's well chosen, let's just keep the word brown, well chosen brown wood furniture, I think it lends a real old world elegance to a room. And that you can't get a lot of times with something that's painted, because something that's painted may look like, especially if it's newly painted, it may have that look like, I just painted this and then I just dressed it a little bit. Or it may just slide a little too far into the cottagey look. You're not going to get that sort of old world antique feel from a painted piece. It would be the rare painted piece that would give you that.
There's so many beautiful pieces of furniture in woods that you cannot find today. So speaking of antique furniture, if you have something that is walnut or pecan wood, something that is perhaps the antique pine, I think it's almost sinful to paint that. Those woods are so beautiful and they really are not available anymore. So if you paint them, then you're painting over this beautiful patina. And I say that about pine. There is new pine furniture, but I don't know if you've seen online. I've seen a lot of pictures of new pine and old pine, and the grain is very different and it's much softer now than the old pine. So I have some beautiful old pine pieces that are carved and beautiful. You cannot do that with the new pine, and it looks like a completely different type of wood. So some of these pieces, I think not only is it nice to have some stained pieces in the room, some of these older antique pieces, some of these types of wood are simply stunning, and I think would add so much to a room.
Yeah, for sure. The pine, there's nothing like the older pine. I believe is what my Girl Scout dining room table is older pine. I don't know how I got so lucky with that one.
Kevin's still upset that I sold our old scrubbed pine, our English scrub pine table.
Well, but I didn't know that. I'm kind of upset now too.
Yeah, well, we could only fit 4 people. It was so old that it sagged in the center. That's how old it was. But it would only, when my mom would come to visit, we couldn't even fit a 5th person around the table, so I had to do something else.
Yeah, that's a big hint when you invite your mom and then you only have 4 chairs.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, that's not nice. You don't want to do that.
Here's the card table, honey.
Exactly. Kids table, grandma table.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing about brown furniture is, you can buy new brown furniture, right? But I really think, a lot of obviously what Nita and I are drawn to is older furniture. Unless you're paying a high ticket price now for some brown or stained furniture, you're probably not getting super high quality, because furniture that's in that mid-range price is not really made that well now. So if you can find a brown wooden piece that's an antique or a vintage, or you even are lucky enough to find it at a thrift store, you are going to find a piece of furniture that has the hallmarks of excellent workmanship, like, dovetail, and you're going to, and there's probably going to be a solid back rather than some sort of particle board back. And there's just going to be details of that furniture, or perhaps even the carving or something like that, or the turn of the leg, that you're not going to be able to find unless you want to pay a lot of money now, because the mass-produced stuff is just not made like that anymore.
Well, the beauty of it right now is if you are looking for an antique piece of furniture, the market is very much a buyer's market right now. So it's a great time to buy antiques because there's really not a big appreciation for them now. I think that's going to shift back and forth. It always does over the years. And then go ahead and get them now. You'll be sitting pretty when the price goes back up. But I don't buy the pieces because as an investment, I buy them because I love living with them and they add so much elegance to a room. So it's very much worth it. And yes, go get some. And I found some amazing pieces at the thrift store. Typically, if they're at the thrift store though, and I go to one where you can consign, so they're going to have the consignment thrift stores are going to have much nicer things than a thrift store that does not do that. But typically either it needs to be reupholstered or it does need to, or the stains off. So those things at the thrift store sometimes do need to be painted, I'm afraid to say.
So let's talk about that, the stain being off, because there is wood furniture. There's brown wood furniture. Right. And then there's brown wood furniture, right? So there's some stains that are just not as appealing as others. And to my eye, the pine is sort of a different breed on its own, that is just, it's pine and it has that pine look to it. So we kind of put that off to the side on its own. But when you're talking about the stained woods, am I drawn to that super orangey oak stain that was going on? Maybe whatever that was 25 years ago or something like that.
Some of the maple's a little off too.
Yeah. And that sort of anything sort of with the red undertones, and it's not that appealing to me.
And the golden oak can be a bit rough
the golden oak, the orangey, and sort of the red tones. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what else I've painted, although it's kind of a mixed bag, but I have painted some gorgeous antique French pieces that were very, very dark oak. They were almost black, almost ebony.
See, I like that. I really like them.
Well, one of them I kept. A couple of them I kept. One I painted. I'm thrilled I painted it. So it's kind of a, you just have to pay attention. And then some of them, like one piece I have that's a marble topped cabinet, has all this inlay on the front, a basket and a ribbon. Really pretty. I can't paint over that.
No, you can't paint over that. Don't be a sinner. Don't you paint over that.
I'm not going
to. No, but so if you encounter a nice piece and it's got these hallmarks of great workmanship and all of that, and now you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, but it's that ugly orange color, or well, you know what? Maybe that piece is a candidate for painting, or maybe you try one of those stains that Yvonne was talking about. I haven't tried that yet, but sort of can miraculously change one stain to another stain. But you can only be able to go darker. But if you're encountering sort of that neutrally brown, or to my mind, the darker scale of brown furniture, I would leave it unless your entire room is filled with that color brown furniture, which is just generally a bad idea to have your room filled with one type of thing anyway. Then I would just leave that one piece or two pieces. Like in my dining room, which is, where I have, I guess, the most aggregate most brown furniture in all the rooms, right? So there's the table, then those chairs that I found in the barn that have the caning, but they're also upholstered in grain sack, so it's not like they're all brown. But then I have that break front. Okay, so that's the 6 chairs, the table, and that big break front. Well, the table is pine, old pine, so it's very light, and then the break front piece is really dark. And so I think they work beautifully together. And yes, there was that giant china cabinet that I was so happy that was left here, but that was sort of red. It was that cherry-ish red. And so I gleefully painted that.
Right, right.
And I think that it all working together. Now, had I painted everything in that room, it would not look good. And with all the white that I use in my house on the walls and the trim and the exterior and all that, I need something to ground it. And I find that my brown furniture, now that I've given it all this thought, which I never really thought about it in this way, I think it really grounds the rooms.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's what I'm saying. I feel like if all the furniture is painted, the room doesn't, that's what I'm saying. You need these dark colors in a room to ground it. So if it's all white, it feels like it's just going to float away.
Exactly. It's just floating, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I think the dark is needed. And when I first started decorating, when I was first married, at some point when I really started looking around my house, mismatch this and that, I decided, all the wood tones, all the wood stains have to be exactly the same. And that was my approach. And now I am kind of the opposite. I make a point to make sure they're not exactly the same, that everything doesn't look too matchy. And so I think it's nice to have different types of wood in a room. And the one that's the hardest to work with, of course, is mahogany. It is hard to make that look good with other wood tones. But barring the mahogany, most all of the other wood tones usually work pretty well together, unless it's a real red stain.
Don't you just love a great recommendation from a friend? Well, we're delighted to be recommending these companies and their wonderful products to you today. And let them know your friends at DTT sent you. Go ahead, clean out your closet, then head straight to Quince. I love every item Quince offers, from wardrobe to decor, and I can really recommend their Ultra Stretch Super Wide Leg Pant at $49.90. The price is unbeatable, and the look is so flattering. It keeps you in on top and flares out of the bottom. Everything feels right with Quince. The price, the quality, and the sustainability. Quince offers a range of luxury wardrobe and home goods at prices within reach. And like Quince's clothing, their home goods are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. Once you've cleaned out your closet and refreshed with Quince, you can also add something to your home decor. So give your wardrobe and your home the refresh it needs with Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns on your next order. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT. And let me know how you love those pants. Inevitably, with the new year come wellness goals. One very effective and easy to reach goal is to add Dose to your wellness regime. Dose is expertly formulated organic wellness shots that support your liver in one delicious drink. Formulated with ingredients clinically shown to support liver health: potent turmeric, milk thistle, and ginger. There's 0 sugar and 0 calories. Did you know that your liver performs over 500 special functions? Since I learned all that my liver is doing, I started with Dose to support all those vital functions. I take a shot of refreshing Dose 2 times per week to combat everyday toxins from food, meds, alcohol, and unhealthy air. Since starting with Dose about a month ago, I am definitely feeling an overall improvement in my health. So if you want to give Dose a shot and invest in your health like I have, Dose is offering DTT listeners 15% off your first order, plus an additional 15% off if you subscribe for a monthly delivery. That's 30% off your first order. So go to dosedaily.co/DTT and use the code DTT. That's dosedaily.co.co/DTT and use the code DTT. If you have brown furniture, who out there has brown furniture? If you're nodding or you're pointing to it, or
I think almost everybody's
got some, right? Even if you're on the fence about painting it, and I was definitely on that fence. One side of my fence was stained and one side of my fence was painted, and I could not decide. It took me quite some time when we moved into this house, because I was, sort of gifted a lot of pieces that were brown. Right. I mean, everything in this house was pretty much a shade of brown when we got here. And I knew I was going to put in hardwood floors. So I knew that that was going to be another darker brown element. So I was really trying to figure out, what needed to be painted and what didn't. And, if you've been listening to us for a while, you know that gigantic German piece that was left here, which I affectionately called the altar, basically had to be taken apart and taken out. But man, I can't tell you, probably, upwards of 2 hours, 3 hours altogether over the course of months and months and months, I stood in front of that piece and I was like in my mind's eye trying to imagine it. What if it was white? What if it was dove gray? What if it was distressed? What if it had gold leafing somewhere? And then finally that piece, I just knew had to go. Actually my husband knew it had to go and he suggested it and that went. But the other pieces that I did paint, I am so glad that I did. So I am not anti-painting.
We're not judgy either. We're not judging.
Oh, we're so not judgy. And you know how I feel about a can of spray paint. So, I mean, any other paint, I also adore. And I feel that it is, spray paint is magic in a can and any paint is transformative. But hold on to your horses when it comes to a beautiful piece of brown furniture. Just because it's brown doesn't mean that it needs to be changed in that way. Maybe if you just think it needs a little sort of a little uplift. Anita, what's that stuff that you love to use on your furniture?
Oh, the Restore Finish. Well, that's for scratches. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah, because what if you found a piece and you were just like, oh, it's brown, it has scratches. Maybe I shouldn't have brown furniture. I definitely shouldn't have brown furniture with scratches. Like, maybe you can just bring your furniture back to life.
Well, the Restore Finish is good if you've got nicks and scratches. It will make it all the same color again.
Oh, so that's good.
It's really good for that. Right.
Or even, have you ever used that stuff, Orange Glow? I had that for a while.
Will that take care of a scratch?
No, but that's more just like sort of bringing the life back to the wood. I think, okay. There's a few other products that do that where, it's just kind of like sometimes it just it's old, it gets dried out. It just doesn't look so good. It's kind of just giving it a little help.
I know. And, I have
like adding a little blush, like
I have an old
that's all you
American
need.
Table on my back porch. I think it was covered up the whole time you were there at the farm. And it really, I put some wax on it, but I really need to redo it again because even though we keep it covered when we're not there, the sun is it's dried up and bleached out. And, it's needing a little love and attention. And now that it was just too hot to even work on it until now. So I'm making a note to, I'm going to have to give that some loving attention.
Well, I hope the armadillo hasn't set up home underneath it or anything like that.
I hope not to.
She does have a wild armadillo. I think it's actually trying to move your house. Like just get under it.
It's digging
pick it up and take it someplace else.
Everywhere. Yeah, it's making Kevin very mad because when he mows now, there's a lot of whole potholes in the yard.
Yeah, I think I fell into one of those.
Yeah, you might have.
I thought it was the well, but it was made by the armadillo.
No, yeah.
Yeah, so definitely don't rush to grab your paintbrush. Think about it for a while. If you're feeling like we do get listener emails a lot where people are talking about they just feel like their room is sort of flat, and it's there are different descriptions of it, but I take it all together, it's kind of like maybe your room is just too brown. Mm-hmm. And so that, brown kind of is thought of in, decorating circles right now is sort of a negative thing. So I don't think I was crazy to be like, they think I have brown furniture, but I really do. Having now come full circle with my brown furniture.
Are you embracing your brown?
I am so embracing my brown furniture. I always was. I didn't really even think about it. It just works for me, and it works in this house.
You didn't even know you were brown. See,
I didn't know. It's just fine. And so I really definitely feel blessed that I have this brown furniture, and I am not going to paint the pieces that are the way they are now. I have already done that, but this is talking, I'm also referring to large pieces because I really do believe they give some weight to my decorating and they add to my style. But if it's a little piece and it doesn't have particularly great bones, there's just there's no little scallop or the pedestal is just straight, there's just nothing really too exciting going on about it. And it's brown, just stained, not a particularly fabulous color brown. Then I would go at it, get your paint can, get your chalk paint, get your spray paint, even strip it and see what happens, because those little pieces, they can just add such a little pop if you transform them. And if they don't have a lot of interest in and of themselves as they are in their natural state, I say go for it.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I have had some very intricately carved. The intricately carved pieces are the ones that are really going to show off the carving if you paint them.
Mm-hmm.
So just because it's carved wouldn't make me decide to paint or not paint it. Again, it really does depend on the stain and how good the stain looks and what type of wood it is. So, like I said, if it's kind of an oak, I'm more likely to paint it, or if it's just kind of an ugly stain.
Yeah.
But I have painted some carved things that it turned out really to be very stunning. And, this whole thing about painted furniture, it's not a new idea. The Gustavians, for example.
Yeah, those crazy Gustavians. They were trying to lighten anything up, those people.
Well, yeah,
it's
in Sweden, I think the cabinet maker, the person the furniture maker was actually trained at Versailles, and he came back and he wanted to have these beautiful carved pieces like they had at Versailles, but they just had cheap woods there. Mm-hmm. So he's thought, well, what if I carve them, maybe make them a little simpler, but then paint them all? And that's kind of how the Gustavian thing.
Oh, that's so interesting.
I didn't know there's a lot of, and
I thought they were painting it because it's dark out and now I have dark furniture and I'm just dark. And
the woods, they just didn't have the nice woods. So a lot of that was pine or some cheap type of wood. But, even in France, I mean, there's a lot of, I have some, well, I mean, not obviously from the 1700s because they would be, worth $1 million. But, there's a lot of French pieces that are antique that were painted, that were meant to be painted. So, it's not a new idea. To paint furniture.
No, not a new idea at all. You're right. And the Victorians, which, some people have, when they've seen the tour of my house, particularly that one that's on YouTube that, it was initially made with my friend Mary Beth Evans, who came over.
That was a fun tour.
It's so fun, right? So we'll link that if you haven't seen that. But so many really positive comments. But every once in a while, there's somebody like, "Oh,
so are you saying Victorian furniture tends to be painted or not painted?"
No, I'm saying that the Victorians, you're saying like the wood wasn't great. Well, people sometimes said about not necessarily the furniture, but all the woodwork in my house, the moldings, the trims, and the staircase and all of that. Like, oh, I can't believe you painted all over all that stained wood. But the thing was, the Victorians had, if you didn't have a ton of cash, you weren't using great wood and your intention was to paint it. Like everything in this house prior to the owner that we bought from. So when Mrs. Hobbs was here, she had everything painted dark forest green, everything.
The woodwork was
all
green?
The doors, yes, yes, and he
yes.
scraped it all off, and then unfortunately stained it also that orangey color, which so it really wasn't.
It was never meant to be stained.
No, like you're saying about the Swedish people, like they didn't have great wood, so the idea was, make this beautiful piece of furniture, but then you're going to paint it. Up
with something so amazingly graceful and beautiful.
Yes, they did.
So I mean, and I think really what we're saying is, if you need permission, maybe you don't to go do what you want to do. But if you need it, then hey, do what works for you. But we want you to make an educated decision. We want you to really think about it before you paint. But if you feel like that's what's right, then go for it.
Yeah, but don't knee jerk and paint just because everything you see on Pinterest is painting and blah, 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 because you will be sorry because you can't take that paint back off. It's very hard to anyway, and you probably, wreck whatever was going on underneath, and then you'll have to start all over again with a whole new stain. But so don't be bummed if you have brown furniture. I am not bummed. I love my brown furniture, and I think it really works in my house. And I bet a lot of your pieces are working for you too. But as Anita's saying, if you have a piece that isn't working for you and you just feel like it's kind of, not an anchor, but kind of a drag and not really making any of the other pieces in your room or in your home better by being there, then maybe you want to consider painting it.
Pesto pork chops over Parmesan polenta. Not that easy to say, but oh, so easy to make with Green Chef. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit company for eating well, and we have such a great deal for you. You're going to save $250. Listen on for the details on that. Green Chef makes eating well easy for any lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat more balanced meals. You know, we're getting into the busy holiday season, so it's a perfect time to have Green Chef help you out. Let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season with their chef-crafted, nutritionist-approved recipes featuring fresh ingredients and nothing artificial. And you know what? You don't have to lose track of your healthy eating habits during the holidays. Every Green Chef customer gets a free session with their registered dietitians who will walk you through how to make clean eating work for you. So sign up for your free session and start on the road towards better health today. And that deal I want to tell you about, visit greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order. So that's greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order.
BritBox just keeps getting better. The new Archie is amazing. And it's not the comics. It's about Cary Grant. Archie is the brand new limited series starring Jason Isaacs as Archie Leach, the man who became Cary Grant. From the award-winning screenwriter of Philomena, Archie tells Grant's born in Britain, made in Hollywood story, the dramatic grit to glamour transformation that led him to become one of the most famous people in the world. You are going to absolutely love the acting, but also the styling, the outfits, the scenery. It's the first time his story has been told in collaboration with his daughter Jennifer Grant and ex-wife Diane Cannon. The performances from Jason Isaacs and the rest of the cast are amazing, and it's only available on BritBox. So sign up for BritBox today to stream Archie and other fan favorites from any device. And we have a special limited time offer for our U.S. and Canadian listeners. Get 50% off, yes, that's 50% off your first month when you sign up for a monthly plan. But only if you go to BritBox.com and use our promotion code DTT at checkout. You're going to love Archie. So head over right now and get 50% off your first month of BritBox. Use the promotion code DTT at BritBox.com. And there's so many ways that you can get that done, but take pause.
Yes, I think that's good advice.
So this has been so much fun today. We have a listener question that we wanted to share with you. And we've had so many new people joining the podcast. We thought that this question might be a good one to toss in right now. So Karen H., she wanted to know if we were self-taught decorators or do we go to school for it?
Well, I mean, if you've been listening for a while, you probably know the answer, but my degree is in engineering, which is, of course, almost like a decorating degree, right? It's almost. But I wanted to study decorating. It's just that I got sidelined. I was told I couldn't make money doing that. So I was forced into a life of math and science, which was fun, but this is more fun. And how about you, Kelly?
Yeah, well, I have no decorating education except just doing it. And I used to be an attorney. I was a trial attorney for years, Karen. So thank you for asking that question. And I think the best thing that comes out of asking that question and hearing our stories about how we changed our careers and direction and really dove in headfirst into decorating and design is that you don't need to be, you're all decorators because you listen to us and you care about it, right? That's really what makes you a decorator. And just doing it over and over again and trying it and moving things around and testing out a vignette or leaving a piece of furniture unpainted or painting a piece of furniture. All of that is being a designer, doing it every day, caring about it is really the bottom line, which makes you a decorator, I think. Yeah, and you can, you can take courses, of course, and you can read books, but, pick up magazines, listen to this podcast. And hey, I think you've got an unofficial decorating degree just by listening to 277 episodes of Decorating Tips and Tricks.
There are professional decorators and designers that listen to the podcast. So cheers to you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people out there that are doing this for a living that have no formal training as well. I'm always a little surprised at how many people there are doing it and doing such a great job at it. And just if you have an eye for it, go for it. Or if you enjoy it, go for it. So thanks for the question. This was so much fun today. I'm glad to share with you my thoughts and our thoughts on brown furniture and painting furniture. So remember, we're here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time. Hey, everybody. We want to thank you so much for listening to Decorating Tips and Tricks. And we want to make it even easier for you to listen. And it's easier if you subscribe. You just click the subscribe button on our website, www.decoratingtipsandtricks.com, or you can subscribe through Apple Podcast or any of your favorite podcast listeners. So until next time.